Welcome back to another interesting panel. This one is about gaming market migration, and I'm happy to introduce your moderator to you. It's to my immediate left, John Maloney. John Maloney is founding member of the IMGL, the International Masters of Gaming Law, and he's a preeminent gaming lawyer as well as gaming attorney with offices in Las Vegas and Sacramento. And John, you don't look like that, but your experience is more than 30 years in the gaming field, including 8 years as a regulator. So John is a gaming attorney and a gaming regulator, used to be a gaming regulator. He covers everything, and he will moderate the next panel for you. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Welcome to G2E. We have a really interesting panel today because we're going to be talking about real-time issues. We're not going to be up here talking about what the federal government's going to be doing with internet gaming. We've been doing that for years and we're still talking about it. So a fun panel. Let me introduce everybody. I'll do a brief description of what the panel is, and then we'll rock and roll. To my immediate left, A.G. Burnett, Chairman of the Nevada Gaming Control Board. We're very, AG, thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be here today. Really, absolutely, means a lot. Next to AG is Eric Meyerhofer, CEO of Gamblit Gaming. Next to Eric, Kevin Mullally, VP of Government Relations and General Counsel for GLI. Rachel Mithsud-Bonisi, got it right? Chief Regulatory Officer, Malta Gaming Commission. And finally, Kelly Duncan at the end with Jones Walker, a partner. He's out of New Orleans. What you need to know about Kelly is that he's a great gaming lawyer, but if you get stuck navigating the Mississippi River, he's also a great maritime lawyer. So keep that in mind. The panel discussion today will talk about, among other things, recent developments in the state of Nevada and what that means to the industry in Nevada and elsewhere. There have been changes in the law here. September 17th, the Nevada Gaming Commission amended existing regulations to allow for skill-type gaming. Our regulation, Reg 14, which talks about manufacturers and distributors and inter-casino linked systems, now has the words skill and hybrid. In fact, I brought some copies of Reg 14 and the changes, if anybody's interested in looking at that. So today what we're going to do is AG is going to walk us through the framework and why Nevada decided to move forward with this. And by the way, they moved forward without a gaming product in the lab. They decided to move these regs and change the law. And so now we're going to have a new product on the gaming floors in the state of Nevada. After AG, Eric's going to talk, and who better than he's with Gamblit Gaming. Eric will talk about why this product and why the change in the law was important. He'll talk about the type of product, who that product is going to attract, and so it's a good discussion. After Eric, we have Kevin, and Kevin with GLI. So what Kevin's point of view is going to be, well, it's great, we've changed the law and the regulations have been changed, but we don't have any technical standards yet. So Kevin's going to talk to us about technical standards and working with the regulators and actually getting a product onto the casino floor. Rachel and Kelly will then be talking about regulation of social gaming and what we're doing there. Mr. Chairman, tell us about Nevada. Tell us about the new law and what it means to the state. Okay. And by the way, the gentleman sitting here was the architect for moving this process forward in the state.
Well, I don't know about that. I have to say that the staff at the Gaming Control Board, who always does such an excellent job, really was the pusher and the mover, along with AGAM. It was really a joint effort. We had a legislative session in 2013 where this topic was just being broached. After that session, there was an interim committee that was started. It was technically called the Interim Committee to Study the Impact of Technology upon Gaming, if I haven't gotten that wrong. It met during the interim. Nevada has a legislature that meets every 2 years. So 2014, that committee held some meetings. I was an ex officio member of that, along with the chairman of the Gaming Commission at the time, Pete Bernhardt. The result of that interim committee was direction to the Nevada legislature for the 15 session to create a BDR that directed everybody, legislature, regulator, and industry, to come together to create a new, I guess, form of gambling, a new day in gaming. And I think that the reason why that was done was because we all understand what is going on with slot games on casino floors. Here today, we see revenues not necessarily declining, but not doing as well as they could be doing. And we see other forms of revenue here in Las Vegas, especially picking up. Entertainment, food, dining, retail, nightclubs have become a big issue for us here in the state of Nevada. And those revenue drivers are increasingly soaring through the roof, whereas the slot revenue was flat. And we all looked around and said, something needs to be done about this. What can be done about this? And the result was that BDR, which ended up in the 2015 session, our latest session, and it came through successfully. The bill is enabling legislation that has the Gaming Control Board and the Nevada Gaming Commission directed to create regulations surrounding new types of gaming to be offered in Nevada casinos. What we have in Nevada is an interesting dynamic statutorily, where we have games that are defined as games of chance and certain games of skill that we call games or gambling games. What we did was collectively come in and say there are going to be our old style of slot games, which are just as you see here today, the Palazzo or the Venetian, but we're going to add another type of game. And early on during the 2015 session, it was just simply called a skill-based game. And it was late one night. I was flying back from Las Vegas to my home in Reno, looking at the bill, and the next day I called the AGM folks and I said, why don't we have all our bases covered from a legislative standpoint, from a statutory standpoint, because we're very definitionally driven in Nevada. Let's create something that catches a third tier. We're going to do our slot games of chance, and we're going to add a skill element. And just in case the lawyers aren't comfortable with all that at the end of the day, let's create something new, and let's just call it a hybrid game. And AGM welcomed the idea, and they said, we'll see what our constituency thinks. They like the idea, and now what we have is our regular slot-style games, we have our skill-based games, and we have something in between, a hybrid game, which can now really, I think, cover all of the bases. We went through the process of creating regulations immediately thereafter. We had several workshops. In Nevada, it's a very public and open process. And after 2 or 3 of those workshops, the way it works in Nevada is the Gaming Control Board finalizes the reg, makes a recommendation to the Gaming Commission to go ahead and adopt the regulation. They in turn can hold a workshop, multiple workshops, whatever they wish to do. They held one workshop, as you mentioned, John, and then they passed it. And that is what you have right here. We understand that it can't cover everything because we simply don't know what guys like Eric next to me may develop, may create. My mandate to my staff at the Gaming Control Board, especially in our technology division, was we will never shirk from our responsibilities as regulators. The people who offer these games, the people who open establishments and offer them, the manufacturers, the distributors of these games are still going to be licensed, found suitable, and vetted just as everyone else is. And that is the line that we are going to hold. However, in today's day and age, 2015, gaming looks a lot different, and it needs to look a lot different for it to survive and do what it's always done. Let's move that line. And that's what we did with the new regulation, I believe, in Regulation 14. We have moved that line. We'll never waver from strict regulation. However, the thought is now that a whole new group of entrants, be it our old licensees, IGT, Side Games, whomever, be it our new licensees, be it companies like Gamblit, be it an entirely new company that we've never heard of, let's let them fill that gap. We'll give the opportunity to the licensees here, such as Venetian, MGM, whomever, to put those games on the floor if they think it'll do something accretive to their earnings. But let's get the, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, let's get the people who are playing in nightclubs and pools and in restaurants to be interested again in gaming. That's the hope. I'm hoping that this is a brilliant first step that we've all taken together. My staff at the Gaming Control Board is wonderful, and it was wonderful working with the industry on this.